This is day 2 of this 110 oil change quick service that took all day yesterday. We're going to concentrate on the front wheels and the front system, or front wheel station now. Did all the rest and then it's nearly done. All I've got to do is then change the coolant, because it's got blue coal in it, which is not really suitable for Canada, because when it gets cold it gets very cold. Right, so we're going to take this wheel off. The first observation, and I've seen it on almost every vehicle I come across, nobody ever puts valve caps on. You know, you've got an off-road vehicle, you get dirt in the valve, your tyre goes a bit low, you go to check it and you put air in and you push all that dirt in the valve sticks open, and then the tyre keeps going down. You keep going, oh, the tyre keeps going down. But just a little preventative measure. Think about that, it's really handy. So what I'm going to do now is whiz this wheel off and we'll have a look inside. While we're on the subject of these wheels, these are obviously wolf rims. My friend turned up the other day to put some tyres on his truck, on his rims, and the rims he had were off a Parenti from Australia, and I'd never seen them before, and they look really good. They just look like the standard series rims, except the offset was different, and they were reinforced round here, but had a stamping between the studs, and that's where the wheels on the Land Rover rims, the old Dunlop rims, always used to bend and buckle, and that's why you used to see series rims and some Defenders with lead weights all the way around here, and the tyre fitters have tried to correct a buckle by putting rim weights on, but weights will only correct a balance, not a buckle, so the wheel's always going to shake. So just a little quickie, there's two different types of wolf rim. There's tubeless and there's tubes. These are tubes because they've got an indentation front and back where the tyre locks in, so when you blow your tyre up it'll pop onto the rim and that's it. They're not very good if you're doing serious off-roading because you can't get the tyre off, you know, like miles away from home. You need a tyre machine usually, or a lot of brute force and ignorance. Whereas if you've got the old tube type, you can literally stand on the rim and push it off, get your tyre leaves out, pull your tube out, and if you've got a spare tube you put that in, or you can put a patch on it and away you go. You know, that's field serviceable for you. Some of the early Defenders or early series used to have split rims where the rim was in two parts. You just used to bolt it together. They were even better because you didn't even need any tyre levers, you just took the bolts out, but I've never seen any of those for years. So that was just something on a little observation on wheels. The brakes on this 90 are exceptionally good. There's even contact all the way across the rotor, and the same on the inside here, and these haven't rusted out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the pistons kind of crudely, but I don't want to take them out, but I'm just going to pull back the pads, and I don't know if you can hear, not that, okay. No. I could hear the fluid returning back up to the cylinder. These are Girling cylinders. They don't look all that old actually, but the pads are like new. I've just made them rattle a bit and just push the pistons back. After seeing the single pot sliding caliper brakes they fit nowadays, I'm not a great lover of these anymore. They could have made them a lot simpler and a lot more powerful. But anyway, we're stuck with that. So they're okay. That's alright, that's encouraging. Checking the brake pipes, that's okay. Plenty of mud up there. Oh no, there's foam up here. Let's have a look. See, this is one of the sort of daft mud traps that Land Rover put in. Let's have a look and see if we can see. There you can see it there. Let's put the light on a bit brighter. Yeah, look at that. They used to put a foam here, all the way across, and that would keep all the mud and the water in. You can see the bottom of this footwell is starting to corrode now because of that. If they'd have left it open, it would have had a chance, but it didn't do that. Now, You often wonder why you've got this great big notch here. Well, that's for the articulation of the wheel. When it comes up and you want to turn, it was sort of hitting here. Now, one guy, Eric, who wrote to me the other day about his repair and his Defender, and we're all going to go and have a look at his site. I'm going to put some links on another video, but he was mentioning about the inner arches, you know, and on his car it had soundproofing fitting, but the galvanised arches and the moisture had got between the soundproofing and the arch and made it corrode. And this was genuine stuff, it wasn't just sort of stuck on aftermarket stuff. Anyway, I was going to write to him and say that when I was in England once, I think I got a hold of, it might be in a Puma or a very, very late TD5, and it had plastic arches. And they were brilliant, light as a feather, and then they still had soundproofing on, but it doesn't make any difference in the Land Rover because you can't hear yourself think anyway. But yeah, plastic, and then you got rid of all that problem. Hey, it only took 50 years for him to sort that out, or whatever, 40 years. So that wheel station's good, no leaks, bearings are looking good, they feel nice. That's why I pushed the pads back so I can, you know, have a little feel of that, feel the notchy. If it was a super service, then I'd take them all apart, re-grease them, but it doesn't seem worth it. By looking at other things, you know, and there's no play, then you don't want to be making work for yourself. And, most importantly, this vehicle, I think, is going to be a display vehicle. But we want it to run and we want it to stop and be safe. That's the most important thing. So I'm going to take the wheel off the other side, and then I'm going to bleed the front brakes down. Again, the other side, perfect. Nothing to report there. This truck has had work done to it before. It looks like it's got a refurbished axle because there's a nameplate right on the very top of here of the manufacturer, and if I look inside here, I can see a Brit sticker. So they've put new back plates on. That's nice. Again, I checked the steering before, but I'm just going to pull these pads back. Lovely, there's not sticking. If they're sticking, you see, this is another conundrum. The cost of rebuilding a caliper is almost the cost of a Chinese one, and it's very tempting. And in fact, I've fitted a lot of Chinese ones and had great success. The only thing I do is change the seals to the proper Girling seals, and they seem to be okay. What we're looking for around the tops as well is all the bolts are in place, the nuts and bolts are in place, and they're tight. Corrosion, here's a good place for corrosion on the tops of the towers. Good idea to shoot them with some wax underneath here and wax all the way around here, because this is exceptionally clean, but usually they're all coated in mud and the mud sticks and rots out these towers. A lot of people put either open towers on or galvanised ones. That sort of solves that problem. What else are we looking at? Leaks from the shocks. Well, because we've dropped the axle down, we've got no leaks. We can see the top of the shock. There's no leaks. They're looking all very nice. Brake pipes looking nice. No cuts or splits in the hoses. No, looking really nice. You know, diff turns nice. I greased up all the props. Outriggers are very, very good. They want, again, this car needs a rust proofing. It really, really needs a rust proofing to keep it. And it is an actual, what year is it? 1990. So it's done quite well. Yeah, so that's it. So what we're going to do now is bleed out the brakes, drop it down, pop the wheels back on, pop the sill back on, because I haven't done that. I'm going to do that in a separate video of the sill, because somebody wanted to know how to do that. And like I say, once the coolant's done, this job is done, and then we'll take it for a ride, and we'll include the test ride in this video, all being well. I've sort of got into the habit now of putting plenty of anti-seize on the flank hub face, and especially around this lip here, and I bang it on with a big brush, because I got into this habit from when you did mag wheels, that the wheels tend to stick, so I do the inside of the rim, the wheel and the hub, and that should be fine. So, and it'll stop rust build up as well. Now I'm listening to the other side, and that brake looks like it's bleeding itself through, so time to put the grease point nipple, oh the nipple, yes, put the nipple in. After giving it a coat of anti-seize, the little caps are missing off these bleed screws here. Well, you haven't got any because I've used them all up. But what I like to do is give them a really good old dosing with grease, you know, especially force a little bit down the hole, and that'll protect it and it'll make them easy to come off next time. Now, why am I such a big advocate on anti-seize and grease and things like that? Well, it might be me who's working on this in the future next time, you never know. But other mechanics who are working on this will really appreciate it when all the nuts and bolts come off, rather than fighting with something that's all rusty. So, you know, if we help each other out, it's not so bad. You've probably seen now I've taken my shop coat off. I miss my shop coat because it's got pockets all over. I can load myself up with tools and equipment. Anyway, one thing I just wanted to say about this series, I didn't show you putting the oil all over the car and filling it up. Why? Well, it's pretty boring, it takes time, and it's very much self-explanatory, because the level holes like on the diff, when you fill those up and the oil comes out, well, you can't get much more oil in them. One thing I did use was this thing here. Yeah, I've mentioned it before, it's part of a Tommy bar, but you can put your podger bar through and you can change the angles of this when you're getting the bung out of the transfer case behind the handbrake. Really handy piece of kit. So that's it. So now I'm going to clear off the decks underneath, lower the car down, and then we're going to put the wheels on, drop it down, and then check the levels of the axles again, because the axles are tipped. I've only just sort of filled them up so I know that they're actually full, but you need to do it when it's on level ground. And then we can take the drain the radiator and the block, blow the system out, and then fill it with proper coolant. It says here that the wolf rims need tightening down to 170 Newton meters. Well, what I use is these torque bars on my gun. This one's rated at 175 Newton meters, not a kick in the arse off. So they're all tight. Do them in a crisscross pattern, but I want to show you why I keep banging on about these wolf rims, wolf studs being a bit short. Let's go and have a look. On the front rim, which has got just a regular disc as we're familiar with, the studs are sort of just off flush, which isn't too bad. It's not too bad. But let's go and have a look at the back wheel, because this has got drum brakes on. On the back you can see there is less contact, even less contact, especially this one, look. You see? When I was tightening these up to 170, I didn't like the feel of it, so I'm going to do those by hand. But just be wary of that. You really should have longer studs on. Right, well that's my beef anyway. Right, let's get back to servicing. I've topped up the master cylinder to the maximum mark here. Don't fill it right to the top. I had a car fail inspection here in Quebec because I'd filled it to the top. Now I haven't fastened it on quite yet, because remember, I've had the cylinders pushed back on these front wheels. So before we do anything else, before this car leaves the shop, we're going to go inside and pump the brakes up. One of these days I'm going to make myself an even bigger antifreeze catchment ball, because it just sprays everywhere when it comes out the bottom hose. So I've taken the bottom hose off, taken the cap off there. The next thing, I'm going to drain the block. Now there you can see down here, right there, right in the middle of the screen, is the plug to get out the to drain the block. Now you can see why it was difficult on the TDIs, because the exhaust pipe was right in front of it. So they hadn't actually changed the block, you know, even though they could move it forward a little bit, they haven't changed the block. So I'm going to take that out there, move my catch can, and then we can do another little trick. So I'm going to blow the radiator core out. There you go. Oh, that's all over the floor now, that's wonderful. Why are we doing it like this is because some coolants don't mix, and we're going to just put regular green glycol in these engines because we can get it down. A 50-50 mix will take it down to -40, -45, which is like summertime in Canada, except today, it's really hot and humid today. So let me keep on blowing this out and then we'll fill it up. Now, one little word of warning about old antifreeze and antifreeze in general, or coolant. Keep it away from animals, especially cats. Cats find it very sweet and they die. You know, I wash the floor off and dilute it and dilute it and dilute it, but keep it away from your pussy, alright?